Hey there everyone, today's video is on setting up a tank setup for a ball python. I was going to do one when I set this tank up originally, but it ended up being over 15 minutes and I'm still new to the whole YouTube video thing, and by the time I realized it, I had already had him in here and I'm not tearing down the whole thing just to do a video. So I'm sorry it's dark. I tried turning the light on, I'll turn the light back on in a minute, but it makes this stuff reflect really bad. But the basic things you need to know is that there's no such thing as too much clutter. They like the small spaces, which is why tubs actually do really, really well for them, but with me only having one ball python living here, it's not really efficient for me to get the proper heating and cooling, and I know that he does really well in here. He eats well. As you could see, I did a live feeding video the other day. He definitely has no issues with eating, but if you do get a snake and you have them set up in a tank and you're following all of the proper guidelines and they're still not eating, I would suggest switching to a tub. Eventually I'll try to do a video on that, but right now I don't have the experience or equipment, I guess you could say, for that. There's a lot of pros and cons to doing tanks versus tubs. First off, the main thing I've noticed is that it's really difficult for me to keep my humidity at the right spot, which is why you'll see I have tinfoil covering most of the top. Some people will actually take the tinfoil and go all the way around the light. I like having a little bit of space for ventilation, but a lot of people do that and it works fine for them. Right now I actually have his ceramic heater, this thing right here. I've got it shut off because it was getting really warm. It's pretty warm today. It's like 90 degrees outside. So my temps are staying fine and my humidity does a lot better without the heater on. I've heard that using a dimmer works better for that. So that said, getting into the nitty-gritty of how this is set up, this is a 20 long. It's the biggest tank he'll ever need to go into, especially as a male, but usually, I mean, you can get away with doing a 30-gallon if you clutter it like crazy, but there's no point. Bigger isn't better with these guys, so there's no point using that much space. How I have his set up, I'm going to go ahead and turn the light on and do an overview real quick. It's a little bit better. I have 3 hides. Obviously this one here, there's one right there, and then this one is his favorite. You can see he's in there right now. This is his cool side, versus his heater sits right over this. Honestly, like, I have these from PetSmart. They're like $4 or $5, was it like $3 or $4? But this, I just bought this from Walmart for 97 cents, and it is kind of formable, so I can spread it out more and stuff like that. These, I got like 4 of these for $2, which is a huge deal compared to buying stuff from the stores. These, there's pros and cons to them. Martouf does okay with them. However, a lot of snakes will feel uncomfortable because it is exposed on 2 sides. And these are a little bit small for him. We'll probably be getting some bigger ones soon. I'll try to be switching more to these. This I bought in an expo for like $10. And it has a crack in it, so it's easy for me to get him out of because he crams himself way in there and it's a pain in the butt, but he's happy like that. So, and honestly, like, this one here I bought out of the fish department. You can see it's got the little thing for holding gravel, and I just kind of cover up that crack, kind of put it over the front a little bit so that it's not quite so exposed. I have these in here, rocks. You want to make sure that you clean them really well before putting them in here. He's had that rock since I got him, and he loves using it as a pillow. So that's why I keep that in there. But you have to make sure that anything you get from outside, like this is a piece of driftwood. You need to bake it at, I believe it's 300 degrees for a little while to kill anything that's on it. You can bring in mites, you can bring in parasites. You have to be really careful doing that. In here, I have a bigger water dish over in this corner that is mostly covered by piece that I have attached to the glass. And then I've got a second water dish over here. You don't have to have two water dishes. I just had an extra one laying around, so I'm like, well, it'll help with humidity, so I threw it in there. I use Eco Earth bedding. As you can see here, it's pretty fine. And this stuff is kind of dry. It's been in here for a little while. He's due for a change. I'm going to be switching to ReptiChip, which is a pretty good product. A lot of people have suggested it, and it works well for humidity. Eco Earth works okay, but it's not great. It can be kind of dusty, and it's sticky when it's wet. So if it gets wet, it can cause scale rot, but not nearly as bad as, say, ReptiBark. ReptiBark is a terrible product. Don't ever use it. It stinks, and it causes scale rot. So move this stuff around. I have an Accurite here. Don't use the dials. They're not accurate at all. I have it in his old tank from when I first bought him, but I stick to these. My numbers are a little bit off right now because I've been messing around in here. Usually you want it around 60 to 65% humidity. And usually my hotspot might go up to 91 degrees sometimes, and then the cold side will usually stay between 82 and 86 like it says here. So he has plenty of room to get whatever temperature he likes, which evidently is over here. And then I have another one that stays on the hot side, so the humidity is a little lower over here, which is actually where I want it, because as I said, the ceramic heater has a tendency to dry it out a little bit, but not nearly as bad as a light, which lights have no purpose with ball pythons. They're nocturnal, they hide in holes, they don't like it, it stresses them out. I don't even like turning on the light that I have on for this video. I only do it for videos and whatnot. I stick that there. The main thing you want to watch for with a ball python that's in a tank is making sure that they're not out and about all the time during the day, because the best quote I've heard so far about them is that a hiding ball is a happy ball. They can come out for a little bit at night to get drinks and stuff, maybe stretch out, maybe move from one side of the tank to the other, but when you see them out crawling around all the time, they're probably pretty stressed out. Things that help with that, I have black construction paper around 3 sides of the tank, not across the front, obviously. But that just helps them feel more enclosed. When it's too open and too big, they feel like a predator is going to come get them. They don't have anywhere safe to stay. You know, they're not happy like that. So basically, clutter, 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 hides for them. Hides that only have one opening are usually the best, but with him being as non-picky as he is, what I have works fine for him. He's a pretty boy. Had him out earlier, he's getting mad at me. There he is. Hi, buddy. So anyway, that's as much as I really have to say about that. You want to make sure that your humidity is staying good. Again, the tinfoil helps with that. I've heard of using wet paper towels or wet towels. It works and it doesn't. I used it when I used to use this big tall tank here, which I really don't suggest because with the height, it's just a pain. If you use towels or paper towels, you have to make sure that they're always wet, and you have to make sure that you're changing out and cleaning them so they don't get moldy, because if it's dry, it can absorb a lot of your humidity. So as long as you keep on top of it, it can be alright, but it's not a huge solution. Occasionally I will mist in here. It's not really suggested. It's better to just keep your humidity stable, because when it's rising and falling, it can cause issues for them. Like right now, he's got a little spot on his eye from the humidity fluctuating so much with the weather, and I'm working really hard to fix that, which is why his heat's off right now. But it's warm enough here that he doesn't need it anyway. So that's about that. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, whatever, leave them in the comments. Don't send anything to the email. I don't ever check it. I just made it in order to make the YouTube page, which is actually not being used for what I made it for, but yeah, and if I don't have the answer for you, like always, I'll find somebody that does, and I hope this helps you a little bit.